A woodworker's journey is made possible by the generous support of people like you. Please go to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/AELLC to become a friend of the show. Without you, we would not be able to create this fine program. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Baruch Hashem, and welcome to A Woodworker's Journey. Today, I'm going to show you how I cut the aprons, made dados for the key and ribs on the aprons, assembled the legs to the apron, and installed the key. Right now, I'm measuring out and cutting the aprons. Last build video, I said I was going to try to talk more in these videos in order to provide more information and entertainment. Whenever I watch Four Eyes Furniture, Mike Farrington, Timber Biscuit, or Whitworks do it, it seems so effortless for them. But being on this side of the YouTube channel, I can assure you that it is not. Add to the mix that I am not really a talkative guy, unless I have a few drinks in me, then this is doubly difficult for me. So I want to ask for your input. Please put in the comments below if you think I should copy the aforementioned YouTubers and strive to talk more in my videos, or if you think I should just keep doing what I'm doing, intermixing music with small amounts of commentary. Your input and comments are greatly appreciated. Since I'm not using a stop block to keep both my aprons the same length, I'm using the apron I just cut to mark the length of the next apron to ensure that they are the same length. I prefer to use relative measurements than using measurements straight off the instructions. My ability to cut strictly to the planned measurements is very much lacking, as I will soon demonstrate. Whenever possible, I use the actual workpiece to make my measurements. I write the degree of the angle I need to cut on the front of the apron so that I remember the angle I need to mark. In order to cut the angled notch, I use my jigsaw since I don't have my bandsaw at this point. I also attempt to use my recently acquired flush trim saw to no avail. Eventually, I use my hand sander to sand up to the line. Now to dry fit the front apron. It is less than perfect. The leg does not fit snugly into the notch, but it will do the job for shop furniture. The larger issue is that the notch is cut too deep, resulting in the apron not being level with the top of the legs. I will show you how I resolve this issue later in the video. Here I am measuring out where the notches for the key and ribs will go on the aprons. Again, wherever possible, I'm using the actual wood pieces I am using for the keys and ribs to assist me in marking the cuts. If you have made it this far into the video, I would like to thank you. I hope that you are enjoying it. If it isn't too much trouble, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribed to this channel and liked this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it is an immense help to me as a YouTube content creator. In order to keep the key and rib notches parallel, I clamp the two aprons together. I then raise the table blade the highest it will go and cut out the notch for the key. I use my miter gauge to assist me moving the aprons back and forth and keep them 90 degrees to the blade. The aprons are still very difficult to move, and it took a lot of effort to keep them steady. You will notice that I didn't remove all the wood from the key notch that the instructions wanted me to. I decided that the notch was deep enough. Now, I use the markings on the apron to raise the blade to the appropriate height for the rib notches. Now to cut out the rib notches. I'm only going to show you cutting one of the two rib notches, as that big black card that is currently in the shot moved over and blocked the entire shot of me cutting the second rib notch. Let's speed this along. Since I didn't use a flat tooth blade on my table saw, I need to flatten out the bottoms of the notches. So I use a block plane to help me level the bottoms out. I even use a mini block plane that I got from my father-in-law. Let's move on to the rasps. I noticed that despite my best efforts to keep the aprons flat on the table saw, one of the apron bottoms was slightly higher than the other, so I used my chisels to level them out. Now I measure out the cuts I need to make on the key. I make multiple big mistakes making my initial measurements. Luckily, I catch them while I'm making the marks. I eventually mark this side as bad, flip the board over, and make the correct measurements. Remember, I promised you that when I made these videos, I would show you all the good stuff and the bad stuff that I do. You'll even notice that I sit there staring at the board, thinking and contemplating what I'm going to do next. That's one of the things that people don't really show you on these YouTube videos, is how much time we spend just sitting around, looking at the board, saying to ourselves, oh my, this is really, really bad. How am I going to fix this? Time to cut out the key. This is the first time I try to use my new to me bandsaw. I was so excited to use it, I failed to check if it was properly calibrated before I used it. Of course, it was not. In fact, I should have known better because the person who gave it to me said that it didn't cut straight and had a horrendous drift. I can confirm that it does indeed have a horrendous drift. When I opened up the bandsaw, the blade was not properly on the top wheel. When I fixed that, it still drifted. So I went back to the old tried and truest jigsaw to cut the key. I lost that footage because I forgot to hit the record button. Note to self, remember to hit the record button. Finally, it is time to assemble the legs and key to the aprons. On Mike Farrington's YouTube channel, he often makes music recommendations. May I suggest that you now play Yakety Sax by Boots Randolph in the background as you watch the following sequence. I speed up this assembly quite a bit, just like on the Benny Hill Show. If you don't know what the Benny Hill Show is,
get off my lawn.
But seriously, what you're about to see is a comedy of errors in assembling the carcass of my workbench. Everything is just slightly out of square. I eventually get tired of making the perfect the enemy of good enough and just screw everything together. I do not use glue on this part of the assembly. I don't think it is necessary, and it will allow me to easily disassemble my workbench in the future if needed. Behold, the carcass is now complete, and it's ready for the ribs, the braces, and the top. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like and comment on this video. A Woodworker's Journey is brought to you by the generous support of people like you. You can support this program by going to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/AELLC to become a friend of the show. We could not do this without you. Thank you for your time, and I hope you found today's episode entertaining.